Hey guys, this is Conscious Conversation. You're with me, Craig Seaton.
And Chet Carson.
And we're here bringing you episode 27.
Yeah, we've agreed it's episode 27.
I double checked.
Yeah, and yeah, we were just talking about something and I just thought we might as well let the start the podcast and let the stuff start rolling. But yeah, we were saying, so I don't know who it was, but someone mentioned that, and if you have to really think about what this is trying to say, because it's quite easy to just say, well, you're picking one side or the other side. But so I think it was a saying by, it might have been Sadhguru or it might have been another guru, but he basically says that what is a greater sort of form of achievement or sacrifice from these two scenarios? So is it greater for a king to give up his kingdom and all of his wealth and all of his prosperity and to move into the forest and decide to live a path of a very sort of spiritual path where he's obviously living as a hermit or a monk, or is that greater than a homeless person deciding to fast for like a day or 2 days or 3 days? So if a homeless person says, I'm going to fast for 3 days as my great achievement to contribute towards my spirituality, or is it greater for a king to give up his kingdom? What do you think?
I think are they not apparent to the same sort of principle wherever that person's at? Like, can they be compared? Because they're so different scenarios. If you're a king and you're giving up everything that you've earned or been given, you're turning away from so much materialism and the grip that world has on you that you don't need it anymore. As long as it's being given, maybe not out of despair, but because you see it's not essential to living a whole life or a fulfilled life or a spiritual life.
But is that a greater sacrifice than a homeless person saying, I'm not going to eat for a day?
Why is a homeless person saying this? So
this is the two contrasts between someone who's extremely wealthy, who has everything to give up, and someone who has pretty much nothing to give up, because obviously he's got nothing anyway.
Right, okay.
So what is the greater spiritual sort of sacrifice?
It's an interesting one, man. He's got nothing and he's giving up. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it depends so much on an individual person. Like, how to deem one spiritual sacrifice over the other is on your own worth of the thing, I guess. It can't be comparison to what this person thinks or that person thinks. Like, how much that thing has a pull or a hold over you and you're able to let it go, always for benefit. It's always going to be a difficult thing. I honestly think it's very difficult to say which one's stronger for them. I think a homeless person giving up on food, which is to do with his health and his lack of having anything, is a very strong movement to do than somebody giving up something that has everything. Because the king has, maybe he's been through everything, maybe he's done it all, he's collected everything and he's realised it's not there. So he's had that experience, while the homeless person in this scenario has never has anything, and he knows what it's like to have food and that sustenance that will keep him going and it keeps him alive. So that's probably the more difficult one. Yeah, I'll go with the homeless one. I'll settle with that.
So I think the answer was the king.
Oh, really?
Oh, because so I can give you a different scenario. I can give you, let's swap out the king and the homeless person for someone who's really beautiful, really attractive, and gets all the women. Is it greater for him to decide to become a monk and say, I'm not going to indulge in that and I'm going to decide to sacrifice that so I can become a monk? So all the attention he gets from all the women, is that a greater sacrifice? Then someone who's not got the looks, not got the sort of grace, the demeanor, the ability to attract women. So which one is the greater sacrifice?
Yeah, in that case, it's the attractive one, because you're used to receiving something, or if you've not had the experience of it, you're not sacrificing. You're not giving anything up.
Yes.
Because you don't have it. So it's a lot harder from that perspective than to go, oh yeah, I've never been to India, so I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to have an interest or a pull towards it to be able to give it up. And this is the thing when people always say about, I'm sacrificing this or giving that up. It's only a sacrifice if you really give a damn about it. Like, if you really care for it, or if it's got a massive effect on your life, that's when it's a sacrifice. Like, if we're just changing little things in, I'm not eating bread anymore, it's not sacrifice. Like, it might be something that you're used to and, brings taste and flavour to your life, but overall it's not doing anything other than satisfactory for pleasure, for sense.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a sacrifice, but something on those lines of, that person, that king giving everything up, only if it still does something for him.
Yes.
For him to go, I've got this palace and all this stuff, but I'm not bored anymore. I'm bored, I don't want it anymore. Then it's not sacrifice, So I think it's the attitude of how it's seen. But yeah, in that scenario, I'd say the guy who is used to that level of attention or attraction to somebody who hasn't, because that guy's giving up nothing. But do they benefit the same?
Well, that's the other thing. Is the sacrifice is it worth the same? And I think the moral of the story was, I think they mentioned he wasn't a homeless person, he was a beggar. But it was just to say that if a beggar goes hungry for one night and a king goes hungry for one night, what is sort of the greatest sort of sacrifice? And if you think about it, the king doesn't need to go hungry for one night. He's got all of the kingdom, all the luxuries there. So this ties in with the story of Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, who obviously was the first Buddha. When he went on his journey, he was a king, he was a prince, he had the kingdom, he had all of that, he sacrificed that on this path of spirituality. So he sought spiritual sort of raising the spiritual consciousness, that as a greater path than being in this environment where he's indulging on the pleasures and the sort of luxuries of living a lifestyle. But it's interesting because there are prominent figures in the past, kings, who've done that, who've obviously sacrificed their kingdom, or even just like the sort of the types of decisions they've made. They've done it as a decision for the good of the entire kingdom. I think we talked about Ram, the avatar Ram, in a couple of podcasts ago, and I'm really starting to understand his sacrifice. But also, I've been listening to Gauranga Das, the monk I just shown you about, the one that introduced Jay Shetty to the world of mysticism and spirituality. Now, he talks in detail about not just about Ram, but also Ram's brothers. So Ram had 3 other brothers, Bharat, Lakshman and Shatrughan, and all 3 of them had very interesting traits, especially Bharat and Lakshman. So Lakshman is the one that's mainly known in the Ramayana, in the actual book, where he goes off with Ram and says, look, I don't need to be here in the kingdom. If you're going to go and be exiled, I'm going to go with you. So he's obviously praised, and there's all these amazing stories about him, and it's completely justified because of his amazing sacrifice that he did. He didn't have to give it up. Plus, he also did this thing where he never looked at Sita ever. He always, when he addressed Sita, Ram's wife, he always looked at her feet, so he never knew Sita's face. He never saw Sita's face. And he said the reason why he did that was to show Ram that he's there. He believes that Ram is God, and he has so much respect for him and Sita. So when Sita got kidnapped by Ravan, the demon, when Ram came back and asked him, they found Sita's earrings, and Ram asked Lakshman, is this Sita's earrings? And he goes, I don't know, I've never seen Sita. I've never looked her in the eye. And I just remember thinking about it and thinking, wow, the level of sort of discipline and sort of celibacy in a way, to not even gaze at a woman who's your brother's wife, that's incredible. And the other one is Bharat. His sacrifice was just insane. He was the one who replaced Ram. Well, whilst Ram was exiled, he's the one who took over the kingdom, and he did it because Ram told him, look, he goes, whilst I'm away, you're the only person I trust to take over this kingdom. Take it in my place. And he was completely, that period of time that he was a king, he was abused by the people. The people would throw stones at him and say that, you're a usurper. You did this on purpose. You conspired. So then Ram would be exiled and you get the kingdom. Not even in one scenario did he open up his mouth and say, he justified his reason. He just kept his mouth shut. So he had all this burden on him. People saying bad things about him. When his father passed away, so when the father passed away, the son is usually the one that sets the cremation alight. One of the rishis that said to him that, this is obviously his responsibility to do this, he stopped him and said, your father said he doesn't want you to set his pyre alight, which is a massive amount of disrespect towards Bharat. But he still kept his mouth shut because his order was that from Ram to take his kingdom and to not obviously complain about anything that happens in that process. So again, that whole process of sacrifice, a massive burden. How many people these days have so many unjustly things happen to them? Someone might take you to court for something that you haven't done, and then yet you would still keep your head down and not say anything about it. That's one really difficult thing to do, extremely difficult. And he was doing that. He had this massive burden on him for at least 13 years of his life, and being a king that was so hated to the point where, you know, like I said, people would throw stuff at him, stones, and chant really foul names towards him. And yet, throughout that whole process, he stayed humble, didn't say anything about it. Yeah, incredible. So I'm looking at all these prominent figures, and obviously when you look at people like Ram and people like Krishna and stuff, and they talk about the glories of God and the avatars of God, it's amazing to listen to those stories, but to also listen to the stories about the people around him. The other thing that Lakshman did in that time was, he said he saw Ram and Sita sleep on a very soft mattress and in a very luxurious environment in the kingdom, and he said he didn't want to lose that image of him. So in the forest, when they were obviously exiled, he didn't sleep for 13 years. He stayed awake for 13 years, which is
that's
for us,
discipline right there.
yeah,
Man.
for us it's quite insane. And I used to think maybe it wasn't meant literally. Maybe it was meant in a metaphorical way, that he wasn't sleeping for 13 years. Maybe he was awake or awakened. But then at the same time, it was also, if you think about it, the types of people that you and I have read about or encountered. I've met a couple of monks who've not slept for like, God knows, like 3 months or something. Because they meditate all the time, the process of sleep is not even a part of their sort of essence. They call it inertia. So sleep and doing anything that creates a lethargy in the body is known as inertia. And the body is made for action. It's the fact that the stuff that we consume and the type of action that we do, we don't end up depleting the amount of energy that we need to deplete in the daytime, and that's why later on it passes on. So when you're eating food obviously causes lethargy, and this is why one of the reasons why yogis and monks tend to have very simple food, so it can be digested immediately, like fruit and vegetable. It can be digested straight away and it's out of the system. So there is hardly any lethargy in the body from the digestive process, which is very interesting. And this is how they minimize the sleep quota. They're meditating a lot, but I always thought that when they were meditating, they were also sleeping in the meditation. It's quite the opposite. So the reason why, if you did the Sadhguru Kriya, the yoga, right, the meditation, the Shambhavi Mahamudra, and he talks about rolling your eyes back, and he says to keep your eyes slightly open, but keeping your head tilted up and your eyes rolling backwards. The reason why, there's a deeper reason why you do that, is because you keep your eyes open, but the eye is not present. The iris is not present, so you don't feel the sleepiness, but your eye is still open. The reason why your eye doesn't dry out is because the lens and the cornea is not in contact. That is rolling in the back of the head.
Right.
So you can keep your eyes open. So that informs the body that you're still awake. So that's why in that process, at the start, it feels like a limbo. Like you're going from trying to fall asleep or trying to stop yourself from falling asleep and being awake. Whereas in this process, if you keep doing it continuously, you're almost like you're resting, but you're not resting at the same time. You're resting awake. So imagine trying to sleep with your eyes open. It's kind of like that, which is something I used to do at school. My teacher would be watching us, and I'd try and sleep with my eyes half open.
Did it work?
I learned it. I learned how to do it, to kind of zone out and kind of sleep with your eyes open. It's really weird. It's like, do you know when you keep your eyes open and your eyes dry out?
Yeah.
Because you refuse to blink. Kind of like that. You go into this state where things now start feeling tingly and numb. But yeah, it allows you to rest in that process.
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it though. But yeah, so in this topic that we were just talking about, we can also talk about the things that we wanted to use as a topic. So like spiritual bypass and commercializing spirituality. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's go with the commercializing of spirituality. And I think we touched upon this, haven't we, within yoga and how yoga is delivered in the West and which aspects of it and what makes a whole yoga. Well, with spirituality being sold, I mean, everything, stack of books there holding that camera up, there's so you can put anything into an idea and sell it. I don't think that's always necessarily a bad thing, because any of the books we've read, we've more likely paid for these books, and you can say that that's selling them. But what are you interested in, and can you invest in that and help that sector grow? And is it also genuine? And no matter whatever industry it is always going to get, if it continues to grow, is going to get so big for a point that it will just attract people in who can take advantage of it, or feel like they're an authority in somewhere which they may not possibly be, and then it gets elevated into something else. And like fraudsters, I suppose, or fake mystics, or people who've had spiritual experiences, or teachings, or cults. All these things start for a reason, and they get people's belief in, whether it's just a belief of their experience, or that person is looking for something so genuinely that they will take what has been brought their way. So when you commercialize something as sacred as spirituality, and it's not authentic, it's a massive problem and a massive issue, because you can be so easily led astray, and potentially, if you get burnt from it, or something isn't working, you could close the doors off and no longer explore any further, or find what it is that you're actually looking for. And that alone is a testament to the self, of how much are you willing to search and to figure out, and realize that there are truths and untruths out there, and it's never all just going to be one way. So it's how important is that path to you. And when you explore something like spirituality, it's just a massive tangle, because you've got so many different religions already, the background and the control of religion, authentic religion. It was immensely beneficial to humanity. Teachings now, different groups, different offshoots, different teachers who deliver different ways of the same thing. It's mad. And I think you have to find the teaching or the teacher that works with you, and stick with that path until it no longer serves, and then find something else. But what a market can do that's selling so many of these things is make it a hell of a lot more difficult. And make spirituality about something that it isn't, which is the accumulation of, have you been to this course? Have you done ayahuasca? Have you been to the mushroom ceremony? Have you been to this retreat in Bali? How long can you stand on your head? And and it's so little lay-bys there that get pulled in other directions, just as much as life is on its own. But it's something it doesn't want to confuse, which it does. It's confusing enough on its own, but it doesn't want to have to confuse by falsities being there, or it becoming an industry, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't really, should it? As great it is to be able to buy the things and have access to it, that's fantastic, and I'm very happy to pay for a book or for a course that I believe is part of something that's taking me somewhere, for sure. It's just, you don't want the teacher or the people behind it to be that concerned about money or their own brand as such. It wants to be, here's genuine teaching, because that's what I believe spirituality is: genuine, heartfelt, conscious teachings and sharings and transmissions, and living in harmony with the world. And to access that, you can be led, definitely, and you can read the books and the right material, but it's an experience on its own, and you will get that. You will find it somewhere where you wouldn't actually have to pay a penny. Like, it is there. It is. People are probably doing it and don't realize it, how aware they are of life and how much love they have for life and what they see the whole picture as. All of those are your spiritual sense, whether you're connected or not to what your role in is life. But yeah, as it comes to industry, it's dangerous, I think.
I think it's also the perversion of meditation that's really brought about this new revolution of spirituality. So, there are companies out there, and I think when you teach someone a particular practice that's deeply rooted in spirituality, it's so easy to kind of find your own method of commercializing that. So what I'm referring to mainly when it comes to commercializing spirituality is when a company says, I've got this product, it's this meditation course, you'll do it. They've obviously extracted the right teachings and it provides you a solution, but then you use it for the wrong reason. So any sort of meditation is there for mindfulness, to go in within and to almost kind of find a sense of calmness and equanimity in an environment where it's quite noisy or loud. And what usually happens is in these courses, and there are a couple of courses I'm thinking about right now, but I don't want to say their name. But so I've read a few books where, especially when I first got into meditation, it was mainly for the materialistic reasons. So they sell it for the materialistic reasons. So for example, if you meditate, I think I remember receiving an ad on a YouTube video, and the lady that was saying it was, the more you meditate, the more you're less likely to make a mistake. I'm like, what kind of teaching is that? Like the more you meditate, the less likely you're going to make a mistake. It's like the whole process of life is mistakes and learning from your mistakes. That kind of stuff is the type of dialogue they use to sell it. And yeah, so you use it for, okay, why do you want to meditate? Well, I heard that meditation does so many good things for your mind. Okay, so that's great, but is it only the mind that you stop at? No, I want to make money. So that's where it starts from. It's the fact that these courses are, at the end of the day, the reason why these courses are there to motivate you or to almost encourage you or persuade you to do them is so then you gain fame, you gain money, you get this and that. And I think the best way to describe it is the perversion of spirituality or a spiritual discipline like meditation, and to use it for a very materialistic endpoint. And it's fine if you do it for a materialistic endpoint. I'm not saying it's wrong, but my point is you will not get what you are looking for. So most people are generally looking for happiness, right? We always start this path looking for happiness and joy, but we settle with like pleasure, or we settle for these luxuries and stuff. And I think that ties in. If your goal for your meditation or your spiritual practice is so that you can advance your materialistic possessions or your name or your fame, then at the end of the day, you're going to suffer quite badly. You might not suffer in the immediate time period, but eventually it does come back, because the intention wasn't pure. The intention was, I want this, but then once you've got it, you're always seeking for something else. There's a word for that. What's it called? Hankering. The hankering is a terminology used to describe when you're passionately obsessed by always wanting something, or always wanting something that someone else has. And I think these courses definitely do that in a very articulated way. They use the best marketing strategies, the best language, the best words to almost sell you that idea that you should still be chasing. Use a spiritual practice to chase more efficiently. And I think that's really dangerous, because yes, you'll chase efficiently and you might become very successful at it, but then you're still chasing at the end of the day. You haven't gone away from chasing. So it's moving away from the process of chasing. And yeah, these courses have definitely done that. And it's again, okay, so I might give you a free course and teach you how to meditate, but then after that, I might charge you maybe like 50, 60 quid for a particular course. And you, as soon as you're latched onto my free course and you see the benefit of it, you'll definitely purchase it. You're more likely to purchase the other one. And then that's how they hook you in. Because you'll get a free course, or you'll get a very dirt cheap course or a video. And then the next upgrade is a retreat or a workshop. And that's when they really bump up the prices, where the workshops will cost you a couple of £100, the retreats will cost you a couple of grand, so that's when they hook you in. And that's when I think the intention has changed. Whereas people like Sadhguru's Isha Foundation, he has so many people in India questioning him every day, saying that, you've done this, the foundation is built on an elephant path and, previous elephant path, and your foundation is all about accumulating wealth and this and that. And each time anyone said that, he's always said, come to the place, experience everything, see what we're doing there, and then if you have any doubts, we can clear those doubts up there. And he's always been quite open about that. And still to this day, you get so many people questioning it. And he says basically the people are questioning it are the people that want to hunt the animals. But because they can't hunt the animals, they'll say, well, he's destroyed the area, so then, obviously he's destroyed the elephant sort of pathway. But yeah, it's very much like this. And it's unfortunate that we live in this time where, well, it's also a good thing that spirituality and materialism are coming together, because it's teaching people that, wait a second, we can live materialistic lifestyles, but we can also live spiritual lifestyles where we're not fully attached to those materialistic lifestyles, and we're gaining our wealth through serving the world. That's completely fine. That's what most sort of foundations that are done for the right reason do. They serve the world through receiving money, because the only way you're going to create change is if you obviously have a certain amount of wealth or fame to kind of push your message across. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's the intention behind it and the way you do it, the process, how you get to that stage. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure right now, as we're sat here, we're thinking about a couple of companies that do that. And there are, they've been, I'll mention one of them, but I don't think the way this company's done it has done it in this sort of malicious way. So, for example, Mindspace. To create an app that helps you meditate and stuff, it's great. Headspace or Mindspace? What's Mindspace?
No.
Maybe we should create Mindspace. Headspace, yeah. So they've done it. I think I think they're pretty much on the fringe. They could have gone the other way, which is we'll sell you all these sort of we'll sell you like a retreat or a workshop once you've bought the sort of meditation MP3s or the audio files. We'll sell you all these other courses and stuff. But they didn't do that. They specifically stuck to the app just to help the average person meditate. I don't know, the last time I used it was like 4 or 5 years ago, so correct me if I'm wrong if they changed that, but they've gone about it the right way. They could have used that opportunity and exploited it and said, look, we'll just start selling courses and retreats, but they haven't done that. They've stuck to their guns, and they've decided they know what they are. They're an app to help people get into the meditative space, which is great. But there are other companies that have now seen that opportunity and taken it up a notch, and now it's almost like, you know, this whole mysticism stuff is used for a materialistic purpose. And if it doesn't serve a materialistic purpose, then it's all woo-woo and just bullshit. You know, it doesn't exist. And I think, actually, funny enough, we can tie this in with a bit of science as well, because Sadhguru has always said that science is only useless and we only accept it because it's provided us with toys. You know, like iPhones, our gadgets and toys. Because if science didn't provide all those things, we'd just be like, screw these. Why would we invest so much time and energy into this sort of industry if it doesn't provide us with those toys, these advanced toys, the technology and everything that's created? And it's great that it's done that, but at the same time, at what price? You know, at what price? And it's become, and I remember reading this from a book. Science has almost become a rape of the natural world. It strips the essence away. So if you look at what's it called? The paleontology. When you dig up dinosaur bones and stuff, they dig up the dinosaur bones, and most likely, you know, they end up just leaving the whole place trashed. You know, they don't grow back the trees, they don't plant new trees, they don't do this and that. They just leave the place as an excavation site, and you can see the remains of human beings that are there. So that kind of stuff, it needs archaeology as well, and it needs to be addressed. Like, once you've dug up an environment, place the stuff back, you know, that you dug out. Place it all back, but that generally doesn't happen. And I remember
there'd be laws towards that.
Yeah, Graham Hancock mentioned this on the podcast with Joe Rogan last year. He said in the Amazon, when they started digging up all of the ancient sort of cities that existed in the Amazon, the place was left like that. So when the deforestation happened, you could see all these massive ruins. So it just shows that it's never restored. It's just left the way it is. So yeah.
Yeah. Not good. You think that's basic? Take care of what you've messed up, put it back, make your bed, etc. To go back to what you were saying about the way that courses are run and how spirituality is, and there's the line, isn't it, with self-development and spirituality, and they very often merge. So it's like, if somebody wants to learn meditation to just help their mind and to relax or to change their brainwaves, and look at all the scientific different approaches that they can to do that, that's there, and there will be courses and companies that do that. And it's distinguishing between what's your spiritual pursuit and what's your physical or your personal development that you want to get into. And I think to keep the spirituality, I mean, how would you even go about telling somebody, right, you know, get spiritual and start looking at these? I mean, for me, the way in would be it was through meditation, because that changed everything, and that shows that these things that we're saying are disciplines or self-development or spiritual, they so easily will blend, but they may not as well. You know, I know many people who've meditated and never had the experience that I had, or, you know, they've tried it over and over again and just never got anywhere. So who knows, you know, everybody's way in will be different. Talking with a client this morning, and he's, you know, very left brain, very logical, scientific, but he's edging into energy and into law of attraction, and he wants to you know, he's figuring out more that way. And we're just saying, working with him over a bit of time, is you see these spikes of when it comes in to go, there's something about law of attraction here, or quantum physics, and he likes that, and then he gets on to what he's doing, he forgets about it and goes back to, you know, however his life is, and then another peak comes up and it hits him again, and he's like, you know, these synchronistic events started to happen, and I'm like, right, look at that. And when that pulls in, and how your life is when these spiritual moments occur, and rather than seeing them as sort of the blip that comes in, you can make your life based around that, you know, and you see that that's where all the material stuff and all the lifestyle that we have, or the science, is coming from the energetic, it's coming from the metaphysical, it's coming from doesn't even have to be spiritual at that point. I mean, creation energy being turned into matter is pretty damn magic, you know. It starts as you're hungry, You go, I want something to eat. You've had a feeling that's told you that, and then your mind goes, oh, I'm going to go and get a cheeseburger. I'm going to go and get a salad or something. You're taking something energetic and spiritual, in a sense. It's energy based, and you're making it a reality. You're bringing it from nothing into a physical plane. Like, it's amazing, and that's from idea or from feeling that does that. So I think there's so many ways in. Using the example you said before of the king and the sacrifice, like, how many times do we repeat the same things over and over again and still feel the same, or we still don't get anywhere, but we still do them because we're used to that comfort of life? I think a good point is that level of fatigue where someone goes, tired of this now, or something needs to change, my life's always the same. And then when you do that, because physically you can do it so many times with certain things, but you're probably going to run out of the things that you're interested in if you haven't found, I love doing this, training, exercise, yoga, old staff, drawing, whatever it is. If you love that, it'll always be there. Excuse me. And that can be part of your spiritual pursuit in life anyway, because it's a connection to something greater than yourself. But once you're fatigued enough of looking for it in the external material world, the only place you can go for fulfillment is into the spiritual branch. Courses can sort of tell you about that, I guess, and they can sell that idea to you, but you could just read any old scriptures really, and they'll tell you basically live a simple life, clear your mind, clear your thoughts, take care of your health, be kind to others, connect to nature, you're a part of it. And then from that there's just offshoots of how you get to higher states of evolution, how you get to higher states of consciousness, numerology, astrology, the ages of the time periods that we go through, different meditations, energy work, chakra work, things like that. They're all there, all to be uncovered if you want, and each with a million different courses if you want. If that's your interest, great, follow it through. I've paid for so many courses or retreats. I've been on lucid dreaming retreats, doing the plant medicines, and they've all served. They've never really not served some point of my self-development or spiritual awareness. One of those things is always being served for that. It's just being cautious of, am I buying another course to buy another course? Am I reading another book to buy to get more knowledge, which is an accumulation? And that was something that I did do. As great as these courses were, I'd done some key ones which were foundational for a lot of the way I see the world or the work I deliver now, but then would still be looking always to get the next thing. And that was when it was no longer self-development and spirituality were tied together. It definitely wasn't spiritual. It was more of stuck in a loop, which was looking for fulfillment through attainment of doing the next thing. That alone is great because you realise it's here. It's literally here, especially if you've got the awareness already that meditate, calm your mind, look after your food, look after your body, open your heart and work on your own personal areas or your own defects that need it. Then you're fine. You're in, And I think having your own precepts or your own rules of spirituality that you follow are really instrumental to keeping that going. But yeah, there's definitely a difference between self-development, spirituality, and how you go about pursuing that. Because the monetizing, again, it puts something a bit... There's nothing wrong with money whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with money. It's an energy form. We use it to get by. Ideally, we wouldn't have that, but we're not that civilized or advanced to have that in place. So it is fine. It's just... where do your morals sit when you're selling something spiritual? Like funerals, for instance, and we had that talk once on the podcast about it. If somebody's died and you didn't have the money for the burial, could you as a person go, right, well, he's just going to stay there. I'm not burying your dad or your wife, or that's just so inhumane. It shouldn't be about money, and there are certain things, not just in spirituality or in life, that they just shouldn't be about money or a value on it other than the love or the joy or the help or the sharing that you get from being with people. That feeling, you don't want to put a price on it. It shouldn't have a price put on it, because it's so detrimental to what happens to us. And we definitely are in the dark ages. I think we were talking earlier about the states of mental health, when it's genuine mental health issues, when it's not genuine. How we use social media, money with what we do for spiritual practices. Like, it's a dark time. There's so many things that seem quite obvious in a way that they shouldn't be the way they are, yet they are, because we're still learning, we're still trying to advance, and we've gone down a very technological route. without sort of being prepared for it, and then that sort of exasperated everything. And with the amount of courses on the internet that we can all get access to, and with the social media, and with this person doing that, and finding your own path can be a nightmare. But that's why you have the answer. You literally have the answer. Try a few things out, see what you're interested in. When you've understood meditation and a practice like yoga and clean eating, and you can have a continuation, that alone will take you somewhere. Quiet your mind, understand the body, have a practice in place that you can commit to, and you'll discover something.
Yeah, so that perfectly leads us on to the next topic, which is spiritual bypass. So everything you mentioned there is a form of bypass, whether it's spiritual or whether it's just materialistic bypass, or the normal sort of bypass when we don't want to address a certain situation or a certain insecurity with the whole mental health thing. So it's perfect that we've gone down this route, because the whole spiritual bypass stems. Now, I didn't know what that meant. I never heard of that term until a friend of mine sent me this sort of article about using spirituality in a very perverted way, in the literal sense, where now it's almost about seeing it in a very sexy way. You know, the female goddess archetype and stuff like that. And again, it comes from a deep rooted source, which is far from how it's been presented, which is it goes back to, because we're talking about women in terms of the goddess complex, but it stems from having a woman who's completely self-assured. She doesn't need anyone's sort of assurance, in terms of how she looks or how she feels, and she's tying it in with the looks. She doesn't really have a massive attachment towards the way she looks as well. So that is where it stems from. But then what's happened is we've watered it down. We've put how does Dr. Malcolm say it in Jurassic Park? He says, we put it in a lunchbox, we slapped a label on it, and we sold it. And that's exactly what's happened. These companies have commercialized and seen an opportunity. The female goddess, there's a rise of feminism, so let's use this opportunity to also say there should be a rise in feminism in terms of spirituality, which again, spirituality is always said, male and female, it doesn't really matter, because if you believe that you're the soul, or if you believe that you're the Atman, then male and female is just a journey that you've taken, or this birth in this lifetime. You've already been a woman before countless times, and you're going to be a male again countless times as well. So if you look at it from that sense, then the whole concept of male and female, it only matters in terms of one reason, which is basically reproduction, right? The only purpose for sex is reproduction. The underlying purpose, obviously, we've also said sexuality and to connect with people, and that's a different story. But if you look at it, the most primitive, primal form, it's sex is pretty much used for reproduction, to have kids. So to use this exploitation of, companies and marketing has done it in general, advertisement has done it, where they've decided that, we can also transition this whole thing about the modeling and the perfect image and moving on to spirituality. And now they've got people who get paid quite a lot of money to act deep and talk about deep topics, but then slap a picture of revealing their body quite a bit. And look, I have nothing against people doing that. If that's your thing, you do it. But then it's the sort of, again, we say that we have to look beyond the sort of the surface layer, and beyond the surface layer you can see there's a seriously deep level of insecurity there. So this is where you use spirituality and the sort of the spiritual journey as an excuse to say, it's just a journey, I'm learning and this and that, and you never truly learn. And it's like what you said about the whole book situation, where you start reading about stuff in one book and then you go on to the next book and you keep reading and nothing comes out of it. All you're doing is you're ingesting, retaining it in your memory, and then regurgitating all that crap out again, and trying to teach people this stuff where you've never fully experienced it. So this is something I've really learned in the last 5 or 6 months. It's like all these teachings that I've been surrounded by for the last 30 years almost, I'm going to be 30 next month, but 30 years of my life, they are pointless unless you apply those things to your life. Even if it's the tiniest thing, if you don't apply it to your life, there's no form of experience that you can talk from. So then how can you tell people, maybe you should try this out, maybe you should try this out, if you haven't fully experienced it yourself? So this is something that I feel like we're scared of doing. People talk about meditation and they talk about the benefits of meditation, and it's like what you said about your client that obviously did meditation and didn't really fully work for him. It's because if you go in there with an outcome because you want something from it. I tried that. I read the studies about meditation in terms of how good it is for your mind and how it calms you down and stuff. And I went in there with the outcome that, okay, I want to kind of channel my sort of mind towards gaining something out of it. And going with that outcome, once you've established the base and the foundation and you've got a pretty good window set where you can actually sit there and contemplate on these ideas, then yeah, fair enough. Then you can go with an outcome. I want to get rid of my insecurities about my anger and this and that. Yeah, fair enough. You can do it really well. But if you're going in there right from the start thinking, this is how I'm going to do it, and I think, I don't know who mentioned it, but it was very well articulated and said. So they say when you meditate, you strip away. So imagine a garden. You strip away all of the weeds, you strip away all the plants, even the good plants. You strip them all away and you start fresh from the soil. So you've got a fresh bed in your garden with soil. Now, if you just leave it like that, weeds are going to start growing in. Yeah, so and that's what people get stuck at. They meditate, and people get into the mentality of meditating pretty much for silence and not growing anything in your garden. So again, going back to the analogy of the garden, you clear everything out, you kill off all the bad weeds, all the bad traits that you have that you feel as though they're hindering your spiritual progress. You tear them out, but then you have to put a new foundation on. You need to plant new seeds, new sort of flowers, the stuff that you really want as good traits, plant them there. And I think the way they do it in religion, in terms of Hinduism and Buddhism, is mantra. Planting something, mantra, actually the word mantra means, man is the mind, and tra means like the sort of lack of attachment, or creating like a sort of environment where there is an attachment to the mind. So this is why they use mantra meditation as a form of planting more new seeds across, and then that way you've got something else to latch onto, as opposed to the bad things that you're latching onto. So this is something that people need to work on, and I don't think people do. So when we go back to spiritual bypass, there's a sense for me when I'm reading these posts or when I'm looking at these things, I feel as though, yes, they've cleared the baggage out. Yeah, they may have stripped it away, but they've just got fresh soil. And by having fresh soil, weeds will grow in from anywhere. Anyone that's got a garden knows that weeds will grow in like your driveway, and there's gaps between the bricks you've laid on your driveway. And that's what they're there for. They'll take any opportunity to grow anywhere, and you have to take the responsibility to pull them out, the ones that you don't want, and plant new plants there, so then the old weeds can't grow. So I think that is something that a lot of people do face. And I think in social media, that really exaggerates everything. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of people, even people that you don't want to really necessarily connect with, social media will push it towards you. Oh, check this person out. And you look through their stuff. Like I flicked through a few people's things. And again, it's not a form of judgment saying that you're doing this wrong or, haha, I'm doing everything right. It's the fact that you look at it and you think the message that this person is trying to send is not coming across fully well, because it displays a form, like the picture and the message are two completely different things. The picture is saying, I'm screaming for attention, or I'm screaming for some form of approval, and the message is saying completely the opposite. So to kind of resonate with that, it becomes very difficult, especially if you've done a tiny bit of work on yourself. You can really feel that the message is not coming through. So how do you think people should, first of all, diagnose that and see that themselves, and then secondly, address that issue?
Excuse me. I think that's really difficult, man, because you're unconscious to what you're unconscious. Like, you're not aware of it unless you're aware of it. So when there's something that you need to fix, or you're sharing something, or your message isn't clear enough, you have to listen to yourself, and it's the whole point of self-reflection. Like when I was saying that or sharing that on social media, how did I feel about it? Not like about being self-conscious, but what were my words? How did they come across? What was I trying to get at? What was the underlying point of me speaking? And that's where you'll find if it can be self-serving, expressionate, or selfless, or you're trying to help, so you're throwing it out there. Ultimately, only you really know how that message is, where the authenticity of it comes from. If you're doing it because you've seen somebody else doing it, or if you're doing it because you were inspired, if you're doing it because you want to share, where is the root of what you're doing coming from? And if you can get it clear and it is authentic, great, go for it. Share it out, help out. Even whatever you're interested in, there's a channel for it, there's a YouTube for it, there's an Instagram for it. Like, I remember when I was reading something about this ages ago, about starting, your own channels, and there was, I don't even know why it's stuck in my head. I never saw the show, but there's a show called The Gilmore Guys. Oh, that was it. The articles about the title and, getting attraction, again, how to sell, things like that. And it was called The Gilmore Guys, and it was about two guys who talk about every episode of The Gilmore Girls, and it's like, look, this is how niche things can be. Whatever you want to discuss, you can get it out there. Great, again, it might be entertainment purposes. If it's self-developmental or spiritual, there's a duty, I think, to be so aware and responsible that it's real. And real for yourself, because you can't tell somebody else what is real, especially when you're dealing with things along those lines. I mean, you look at the language that starts to get picked up around people, and you'll see the movement or what they're interested in, and light and love, Mother Ayahuasca, yogis, and all the general terms that they're used. I think I like those things if they're personal and if they are genuine. But when we're copying other language, again, light and love is the new age terminology really for spirituality. What do you know about it? We say things like mantras to get us to certain points or to understand it, but don't just say a word. I think that's something that frustrates me, is just saying the sentences or the information because we've gone into it. Doesn't always mean it's a negative thing, but know it. Just know it if you're going to share it out and make it real, because people will benefit so much more from the feeling that you emit as well, the energy that you get when you're saying it, or how you are when you're talking about it. It brings something with it. People go, oh, there is something in that. Yes, you can get swept along as well by glitz and glamour, and this is why it's got to be a case of, if you want to help and you want genuine progression and you want to open yourself up and connect more to the world, you've got to be as authentic as possible. Doesn't mean you're there yet, but it means you're trying to be as authentic as you can, and you go, yeah, I did what I can with that. That's something that I look for in people that I follow, but also it's got to be in line with what I'm interested in. There's no point. I think, Alex, you actually check. You're very good with, if somebody follows you, you follow back on your social media, because the numbers aren't a thing to you, which is a great way to do it. I unfollowed loads of people, even good friends, because their content didn't deliver anything for me personally, and that was when I did my social media detox, and then I cleared about 300 or so people. And I think either of those methods are valid. It depends what you're doing with the social media, what you're using it for, and how you get by with it. Like for you, for the numbers, it's great. Doesn't bother you. It's not a thing. I like whoever, and it's a nice show of support for the person as well if they've got an account. But the ones that are following where I didn't get anything from it, or there was no need for me to be following the account, it was like, just in my mind, it was just more clutter. So again, it's weighing out how you see things, what your perspective is. Doesn't mean that any of those are right or wrong. And this is the whole thing with your authentic message. It might not be right or wrong as opposed to somebody else, but that's why you've got to be as true as you can, because it's the only right way you can ever find your own authenticism. And like what we were saying about mistakes. If you make a mistake, fine. You were being as authentic as you can and you were with your mistake, great. It's just more realism that we need. And there's something that the world does need. It's not, more content out there, more information to follow, more pulling people in. It's realism. We lack realism, and that's our universal views, our cultural views, our social views, or the collisions that we have are because we don't operate on realism. We don't operate on truths, just personal truths. But you got to follow that personal truth, allowing it to grow and allowing it to die to get to an ultimate truth, a truth that we can all share and understand, which is compassion, which is help, which is love, which is sharing, just anything that's idealistic for a human society to attain. But it's getting on that way, if you're doing it for money, or you're doing it for attention, or you're doing it for likes, or you're doing it, as we said earlier, I've got to do a post because I've not done a post, that's business minded. It's not so much the prior things are ego minded. Hankerings, yeah, to be seen a certain way, to have a certain level of status, to be known as something. When you're doing good and you're being authentic and you're helping, or you do the thing you love, you get known for that anyway. By the right people, by the right energetic frequency that provides something to it as well. So we've probably gone off on a bit of a path there, but yeah, foreseeing things that are online or people to follow or to deliver their message. It's just got to be you. You know, you look around and you see how other people are doing things great. You learn from those things, like the styles and whatnot, but you can't copy someone. Like, it's not you doing it then. It's got to be 100% you. And as we said before, you can read a book and go down the line and you might end up to spirituality, alt states of consciousness, chakras, energy points, whatever. If they interest you, great. But again, make sure it's in tune to who you are, to your path, to your heart. Because there's so many interesting things, so many entertaining things, and it's so easy to get distracted and become false and put another set of clothing on that actually we don't want to be wearing or it doesn't bring us anything.
Yeah, I think it's doing the work, isn't it? Sitting there and doing the damn work, which is the dirty business, because then you know there's a lot of stuff, and everyone has baggage, you know, unless you're someone who's really cleared it out from, spent a large portion of your life clearing it out. You've got to do the work, and doing the work, like talking about it is great, you know, talking about doing the work is great, and people will latch onto that. And I think that's what most people get caught up with. The fact that talking about doing the work is what gets them the attention and the likes, as opposed to actually doing the work, because it's so easy to say, you know, spirituality is about this and that, and then actually you look at the article, the person, the message that's coming through, like you said, it doesn't feel genuine because you know that the person hasn't done the work themselves. And I think it might have been Goran Das again who mentioned this, and he said that the middle path is the hardest path, and there really isn't a middle path. There's the two sides. So there are two forms of people that exist in the world that are in complete bliss. The ones that are completely detached have found it, you know, have got there, and are not. They can still participate in the world, but they're not of they're in the world, but not of it. So the world doesn't define them. Those people are living in pure bliss. The other people are the complete opposite. The guys that are complete pleasure seekers and know nothing about spirituality, don't care anything about spirituality, never listen to anything that's spiritual or anything. So those two types of people are the only two people that will experience full bliss. The rest of the people, which is most of us, are in the middle path. As soon as you've dipped your toes in it. So for example, you know, you and I have both got a friend I don't want to mention his name, but he has so much vibrant energy, and just kind of brings that energy wherever he goes. But recently he was telling me that he was experimenting with mushrooms quite a bit, and I was just thinking to myself as he was saying it, I was like, oh, that might be a very dangerous path for him. Because I remember when he came to the breathwork, one of the reasons why his reaction in your workshop, one of the reasons why he had such aggressive emotional reaction in the breathworks, because he's conflicted between the two paths. He's got the path, he seems like a guy who is all about the pleasure and joy, and all for him, you know, no problem whatsoever, he's doing that, he's living that sort of lifestyle. But now he's dipped his toes in like a deeper realm in spirituality. The reason why you end up suffering, and the reason why you go through mental problems, and the reason why you go through the typical stuff that we all go through, is because you are on the path to spiritual understanding, to understand that this is the correct path. So once you've realized that there is another path, then it becomes very difficult for you to shy away from that path now. So let's say if you're on a road, you know, with your torch out again in the middle of the night, and you're in the woods, and then you see that there are two paths that are diverted. So you've got your path that you've been on there for, God knows, like 40, 50 miles, and now you've seen a sudden path that's diverted aside, and you decided to miss it in the first go, thinking that, no, I need to stay on this road. And you carry on walking, and then again, you see another path that diverts to the left. Eventually you're going to start, you know, the curiosity will get the better of you, and you will want to go down that path. But as soon as you go down that path, then you're in that rabbit hole, the whole concept of Alice in Wonderland. Once you dipped your toes in it, it's very difficult to now say, I'm going to go back to this path and stay on this path. It doesn't matter, even if in this lifetime you feel as though you can stay with this path, those seeds have been planted inside of your head. You know there's another path. Like the Matrix. As soon as you take that pill, the red pill, you know straight away there is another world that exists. There's another sort of dimension or understanding of the world you live in. And once you've glimpsed it, it's very difficult for you to go back to that, living that mundane life, unless you can wipe your memory out or wipe your experience out. Most likely you can wipe your memory out, but you can't wipe your experience out. So this is what the process of reincarnation is for Hindus and the people in the East. It's the fact that, yes, you might wipe out the memory, you don't remember what you did in the previous lifetimes, but the impression and the experience is still there. It's deeply rooted in your essence, in your Atman. So this is, once you've dipped your toes in it, it's very difficult to turn your back on that journey, and it becomes a journey of spirituality. It doesn't matter whether you're a spiritual person or not, but once you've seen that side of the world, whether it's through mushrooms or whether it's through, I don't know, a life experience, a near-death experience, or you've done the work yourself, you sat down and you decided to meditate, it's very difficult for you to go back to the other path completely. Yes, you may decide that, okay, I'm done with spirituality for a bit, like you mentioned. Someone might decide that for a short period of time, I'll go back to my mundane lifestyle, I'll do whatever I want to do, like materialistically, and achieve that. But then at the back of your mind, you've got this other path. And that's what human beings are designed for. It's that curiosity that we have that makes us do certain things. And this is why this world that we've created right now has existed, because of our curiosity. The fact that we always wanted to fly, with flight. And that created the start of the engine and the planes and stuff. So stuff like that, it's very difficult for people to just kind of turn their back on that journey. And once you go down that journey, then I think this is where the whole thing where you shouldn't really take the middle path. You should either take one path or the other path. And I think you either take the path of a householder, which is what most people are doing, which is creating a family, creating a life for, to bring up your kids, etc. Or, with a partner, you're living a life with your partner and you're learning from each other, etc. Or you take the other path, which is the path of a renounced path, which is a path of a monk, which is, okay, I'm going to stick with this spiritual path and stay on it as true as possible. So yeah, anything that diverts from those two paths makes it very difficult for you to live life. And I think this is one of the reasons why mental health is a big issue. It's because there is this struggle that's going on within you. One of the reasons, there's a struggle that's going on within you that's telling you that, there is something that's beyond what I feel, what I associate as my deeper essence. It's a low level of thinking. I am this flesh born, skin and blood and muscle and bone, and I look at myself in the mirror and I'm this person, and I identify myself only as this person. But then at the same time, I know there's something greater out there which has a greater identity, in terms of, like, for example, just the fact that you and I, we breathe out carbon dioxide and we breathe in oxygen. And where does that carbon dioxide go to? The trees. And what do they breathe out? Oxygen. So you're automatically connected to something greater. But it's just understanding that that's what your reality is. It's not just this very small little person in a very small world, in a very small section of the universe. It's not that. It's something greater. And once you've experienced that, then anytime you see something that's amazing, like a fly or an ant, you no longer see that something that's separate from you, but something that's deeply embedded in the same chemistry that you're brought up with is the same chemistry that this creature has as well. And I think Sadhguru mentioned it as bubbles. Like, if you blow a bubble, I didn't get this concept until I really looked at it. So he goes, all of us are basically bubbles that have trapped consciousness. Some of us are greater bubbles, we've trapped more consciousness, and the more we know that through bubbles, that the greater the bubble is in terms of size, the quicker it's going to pop and the more it's going to release the energy, which is what these spiritual monks are doing. They're trying to gain as much consciousness as possible through multiple lifetimes, and then eventually they want to pop. And then there's the other ones that are smaller bubbles. They're more condensed. They think in a very low way, very sort of closed, what was the word that you used? The sort of systemic linear way from the left brain side. And they think this is what their existence is. And they can't think of anything beyond that existence. And it terrifies them to think of anything beyond that existence. So they stay in that small little bubble. But then that bubble will eventually grow. And I think the process of experimenting with psychedelics or meditation or breath work, etc., is almost giving you extra air in your bubble, or extra level of consciousness to realize that this small bubble isn't you, you're something greater. So yeah, very nicely said. I think what you said about the fly coming in, and you can appreciate a fly or an ant or just trees, and seeing it when you're not isolated and alone, and you're not just thinking on third dimensional terms, and it's all matter based. There's so much more going on, and that link with the trees. You breathe out our waste, we all breathe out the waste, we're clearing the body out, and it feeds the trees, and the trees drop out their waste, which feeds us. It's like that alone, or that fly that comes in, or how if you smile at someone, you have so much effect day to day, that when you realise the importance that you have on that, and not in a sense of pressure, but here's a gift. Whatever you do, you're going to have an effect, whether you recognise it or not, just by walking past somebody, just by saying hello, just by being mean, just by being nice, just by
squishing a fly and hitting a spider with a newspaper or taking it outside. Like, you've got so many choices that you're affecting things the whole time, and whatever your life is and your path is, all you've got in your command are how you're going to respond to things. And it's creating the world of action outside of yourself, what you want it to be from how you wish you were feeling inside all the time. Like, whatever we're feeling, we're going to put out in the world. So we want that to be the best that it can be, in unison, in sharing, in freedom, in expression, in, you know, caring for each other and caring for the world. And it's like Gandhi's, that simple quote he said, be the change you wish to see in the world. It means way more than what it just says on the surface. Like, he's talking about full transformation of yourself. Like, whatever you don't like in the world, transform it. Not like, you know, the one piece a day, like chucking one piece of later in the day. Yeah, I don't want to see a trashy world, so I do that. But by choosing to make that change towards it, I had to change how I felt inside. Like, the ego going, oh, people gonna think I'm weird picking up rubbish and putting it in the bin. Are they gonna judge me? Are they gonna think I'm doing it, you know, when I put it on social media? Is it to be seen? And all these things come in. It's like, the change has to be from the mindset to go, none of that matters. I just don't want to see litter on the floor, really, and I want to try and inspire people to do the same. So that's it. You know, that's the change I wanted to see. With that, went through the change of the ego, because the ego battles come with it, and just, you know, wasn't the most difficult fight in the world at all. But it was just seeing that these things in our head and our personality will pop up. That's what needs to be changed, and we see that in the world around us. What needs to be changed? We're not just fighting people or arguing against other people or COVID 2 or 4 or wear your mask or don't wear your mask, but how we go about the act of the conversation and how we go about inspiring when we defy certain rules or when we go along with them. Like, what are we trying to do? What change? And the change is, in the sense, not systemic, but energetical, emotional, mental. What changes do you require to have that reflected in the world?
Yeah. So tying in with what you said about the Gandhi quote, there's one about cows that I just thought when you were saying it. It's from a video I watched. It was from Mayapur, which is a place in India where the Hare Krishna movement is massive. And there's a quote from one of the books called the Padma Purana, which says that if cows are living in peace and prosperity, then life becomes wealthy and society thrives. And it just, you look at what's happening with the way the cows are treated, but also look at the way the message is pushed on the vegan side of things, which is a lot of people now turn to the idea that we can't live in synergy with the animal anymore. You know, any sort of milking of the cow is exploitation, but what they don't see is the synergistic process. It's like saying the whole concept about the tree situation. Really, we're exploiting the trees if you want to look at it in that level. You know, we are breathing out, they're breathing in what we're breathing out, and we're breathing in what they're breathing out. So if you look at it in that way, we're doing the same thing with the trees. And you can live in synergy with animals. Like, you can live in synergy with cows, which is what Indians and in Asia, a lot of people have been doing for thousands of years. So yes, you are milking the cow, you are drinking the produce from the cow, and you are looking after the cow. So in India, even the last generation, when I was living in India, our cow would live in the same house as us. So it wasn't an extension of us, it was living in the same house. It didn't have its own barn or anything, it lived in the same house, in the front yard. And you would dress it in the morning and then you let it go and graze. So stuff like that. And I think people, even, it's quite funny because a lot of my Hindu friends who have become vegan, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, but I want to kind of bring it back to the point that you mentioned with the Gandhi, the quote that you meant. So a lot of my friends who are Hindus obviously come from this sort of this understanding that cows and human beings should live in synergy and with a relationship. A lot of them that have become vegan said, you know, well, we shouldn't still drink cow's milk because of this and that because we're exploiting it. And the same as honey, you shouldn't consume honey because we're exploiting bees. That doesn't exist. Bees are only there for one purpose. Like I said about the whole, we're only here for one purpose, which is, if you go for the primitive purpose, which is procreation, and that's it. The other purpose is, if you want a higher purpose, it's to achieve a higher level of spirituality and liberation, or whatever you want to call it, moksha, whatever word you have. But that's our only two purposes on this planet. We can either choose one or the other. It's when we choose the middle path, it becomes very difficult. Where we use now sex as a recreational activity, and that ends up becoming the main focal point of a relationship. So we can talk about that in another podcast. But my point is, with the cows and bees, it's not exploitation because you're providing the animal with something. It's not exploitation if you are providing the animal with something. Obviously, if you are milking the cow dry and you're pumping hormones and the way commercial milk and dairy is produced, that's wrong. That's different. That's really using and abusing and exploiting the creature. That's wrong. That needs to be stopped. And this is why it goes back to the quote where, if cows are not prosperous, then the whole of society will crumble. Whereas if cows are prosperous, then generally it's a good way of measuring how well a society is. And funny enough, in India, that's how they would measure the size of your kingdom. How many cows do you own? So people like kings that own hundreds and thousands of cows, you would compare that as a form of GDP. I don't know how we have GDP these days to measure how wealthy a nation is. How many cows do you have and how prosperous are your cows? Only a prosperous nation would have so many cows. So I think it's going back to those days and realizing that, these animals, we have to live in synergy with these animals, not as almost a competition to take their sort of environment and then, use them for our own sort of malicious, selfish purpose. So I think that's something that we need to go towards, and to create the change, you have to do it yourself. You have to be that person that says, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to stop drinking cow's milk that's commercial, but also doing something towards helping like the sort of domesticated cows, the cows that obviously people use in India as a form of the sort of relationship they have with the cow, the service that the cow provides and the service that you provide the cow, that kind of environment, doing something like that, helping a charity in India that's doing that, or somewhere in the world that's doing that, and getting involved in that. Because when you're involved in that process, like traveling there, living with the animal, when you're living in that process, then you really understand the relationship. Whereas when we just read about, okay, cows are being exploited, the immediate answer is stop doing it, which again is not the full answer. There's an interesting quote actually I wanted to mention, and I think this is a great time to bring it in. It's known as the Cobra effect. Have you ever heard of it?
The Cobra effect?
Yeah. So basically, when the British Raj was in India, they noticed that there was a spike of cobras in New Delhi. There's a spike of cobras in the city. So they thought, how are we going to get rid of these cobras? So what they decided to do is they put a law in place in government that whichever person catches and kills a cobra and hands it into the government, we provide them a certain amount of gold or reward. We'll give you something. So thinking that this is what's going to reduce the cobra population in India, farmers started creating like farms for cobras. Yeah. They started rearing cobra farms, so there were way more cobras. And then suddenly the government realized that, we've done this wrong, so they shut it off. As soon as they shut it off, the farmers got angry and they released all the cobras into New Delhi. And now, even to this day, New Delhi has the most amount of cobras in the whole of India in terms of city cobras. Yeah, there's cobras everywhere. It's known as a Cobra City because of that reason. So it shows you that the intention behind one particular idea resulted, thinking that a particular solution is going to resolve the whole thing, was what made the solution the whole situation a lot worse. So sometimes the solution we provide is not the correct solution. It's a terrible solution. It's worse than the initial problem that you were trying to address. So this is known as the Cobra effect. And looking at the global situation, saying global warming, let's do this and let's do that, it is not the way to do it properly. You need to sit down and think about the underlying issues. For example, bringing poverty out of poverty and elevating them so you have more people there to sort of almost serve humanity. More minds equals more advancements towards a peaceful environment. So that kind of stuff is reasonable, but just trying to say that, I'm going to stop the world being polluted by picking up a piece of litter or, doing something that's very trivial. Yes, it starts from those trivial processes, but then you have to build it a lot higher up. You need to start climbing the ladders a bit more. And that work, again, like we mentioned previously, it's the dirty work that people are not willing to do. So it's doing that. But yeah, I love that quote, and I was like, I never knew that this was even a thing. So I searched it, and it was all true. Like the British Raj put this law in place, and then they thought that farmers will start chasing cobras and killing them. They started rearing their own cobra farms.
Crazy that. And I mean, what does that show as well, though, that somebody's willing then to take advantage of the situation?
100%. Which goes back to what we
started. They've got a problem. I can profit off their problem, and in fact, I can make their problem worse. Do you know what I mean? It's like shady way of thinking. And this is about the unison and the synergy again. Like ultimately, what does that person want to see in the world? Why go about the decision to make things happen that way? And you're just responsible at the end of the day for wherever you're in. whatever placement you're in life, your situation, how can you respond the best for yourself and everyone? Trying to make it as inclusive as possible. Obviously, you can't always, and it's not realistic to do that always. But as many chances as we can, how does everybody get to benefit? How do we all come out with what's right for everyone?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a great place to wrap up. Yeah, this was really good.
Very good,
went
sir.
in different directions, and we finally managed to wrap it up in a good way. So this was podcast 27. It's in the usual places: Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, preview on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay conscious.